today I'm going to be talking about Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. So as usual, if you are not caught up on Game of Thrones, don't watch this. There are many spoilers and you don't want to be spoiled. Go watch the show. If you're not caught up, you shouldn't be watching me. You should be going and catching up on Game of Thrones because that is important. Okay, so this episode was really exciting for me. I really enjoyed it. So I'm just gonna jump right in and start talking about it. So in the episode, it opened up with Mira and Bran, and it was basically right after the hold the door. So they dropped us right into the emotion of losing Hodor and all of that. Honestly, it brought me back to last week, and it was like it was a continuous episode. And then of course, my favorite part of the scene is we actually get some awesome flashbacks from Bran of Mad King Aerys. Like, oh my gosh! We get to see King Aerys basically tell, I believe it was Jaime, to burn them all, burn them all. I loved seeing the Mad King. We don't really get a lot of him. We don't get to see him ever in the show, and he's always mentioned in the books and in the show, and it was so cool to get to see a little flashback of what happened. Bran also was seeing a whole lot of White Walkers. I literally watched it in slow motion so I could see shot for shot for shot, and it kind of looked like the White Walkers were busting their way through Castle Black, because you could see the doors opening, you could see them tearing things down. I'm kind of wondering if that's something that we're going to be seeing in the future, or maybe that's going to be a big battle at the end of this season. That's kind of what I took away from it. So I was so fascinated with his visions. I wanted to see every single detail, and still it was super quick. We got shots of the White Walker army, and of course flashbacks of the Mad King. So I'm kind of wondering if Bran was seeing the past and the future at the same time. I really like that. I didn't think Bran's storyline this season was going to be that interesting, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised with it. I actually love seeing his visions. I love seeing the flashbacks. I know the creators said at the beginning of creating this series that they never wanted to do flashbacks, but I actually am really enjoying it. There's so much history in Game of Thrones, and you learn about it in the books. You do get more than what they show in the TV show. So for me, I really enjoy seeing it. There's just so much history there, and there's so much to show and so much to learn. I think the non-book readers out there probably didn't understand that that was the Mad King in Bran's vision. So if you haven't read the books, that's Mad King Aerys. That's basically what makes Jaime kill him, and Jaime is known as the Kingslayer because he murders the Mad King. So that's really cool. That's a really cool scene. I loved it. Bran wakes up, he says, "They found us," and all of a sudden this hooded figure on horseback saves the day, and it's freaking Benjen Stark! What? No, we all knew he was going to be in this episode. We knew he was coming back. Book readers know that Cold Hands was Benjen Stark. I loved that scene. I absolutely loved hearing about what happened to him, because finally we find out that Benjen went north of the wall. He was stabbed by a White Walker with a blade of ice, and then as he was dying and slowly turning into a White Walker, the Children of the Forest found him. They stabbed him in the heart with dragon glass and stopped the magic of the White Walkers from actually taking hold. So he is half alive, half dead. He's this in-between White Walker and human thing. He's Cold Hands. Yes, we finally got Cold Hands. And of course, if you read in the books, he was described as exactly that, not being this fully alive being, but also not being a full White Walker. So it was really cool to see, and I liked it. Benjen's back. Bran's the new three-eyed raven. He needs to control his powers. I'm really excited to kind of see how Benjen helps Bran, and that, I just love it. The Starks are coming together. It's so great. All right, I gotta move on, or I'll talk about Benjen for this entire recap. From there, we move on to the High Sparrow with Tommen having a little discussion. Tommen's like, "Margaery, I want to be there for her, and does she really have to do the Walk of Atonement?" And he's like, "Yeah, but hey, I'll let you see her." That was a really interesting scene where Margaery and Tommen got to see each other. Margaery has this whole new self-revelation moment with Tommen as she's explaining to him that I have sinned, I have all these sins, I've never been as kind as you really think I am or was, and the High Sparrow has helped me see all these things about me that were bad. And I found that so fascinating because the books and the show have never fully committed to Margaery being a power of manipulation, and I always thought she was. I personally think that Margaery always has every single one of her situations manipulated, or she knows how to get exactly what she wants, and she's so smart in that way, and I totally think that she's manipulating Tommen without him even knowing, because he is just Sir McDummy. So I do think she manipulates Tommen to get him to help her so she doesn't have to make her walk of atonement. I've said this from the beginning, Margaery would never do that walk. In a million, trillion, billion years, it's not like Margaery. Cersei, on the other hand, was fine to do it because she does whatever it takes to get out of a situation. Margaery's a little bit different in that way. Margaery uses her manipulation skills and it worked for her. So here's something that I found very interesting. Obviously the Tyrells were never gonna let Margaery do the walk. Why didn't Margaery think that? I'm kind of curious if Margaery thought her family wasn't coming for her, so she decided to take matters into her own hands. I am curious to see if she had lost faith in her family from saving her. And then of course there is the possibility that she buys into all this High Sparrow stuff and she convinced Tommen of it because she truly believes it, but I don't think so. I think it's a form of manipulation to get herself out of there with Tommen's help, and because she likes to have influence over Tommen. We saw that with Joffrey. She wanted to have influence over him and he was too evil and too stubborn to listen to anyone, but Tommen is the perfect little vessel to manipulate. So yes, Margaery gets to go back home. Jaime's all pissed off because he didn't get to crack open the High Sparrow's head, and I kind of want to see that. I can't freaking wait for that moment. Then Tommen relieves Jaime from being the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, says, you don't follow what I follow now, you went against the High Sparrow, therefore you can protect me, you can serve the king, but you gotta go away and do it. I loved that. I thought it was so interesting. I really want more Margaery Tommen interaction and to kind of see the manipulation and see where that goes. Then after all of that, Jaime and Cersei have this moment where Jaime's like, I'm just gonna stomp right in there with an army and kill them all. Cersei's like, no, you'll never make it out of there alive. You're of better use leading our army. So go take back our castle, go show them what it means to be loyal to Lannisters, and Jaime's all about it. And I find that really interesting because it's kind of taking us a little bit back to basics with Lannisters versus Starks, because Sansa and Jon are rallying the North, and then we have Jaime at the head of the Lannister army again. I kind of like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the scene that I loved that I totally didn't think I was going to love is Sam and Gilly at Hornhill. First of all, we haven't seen Hornhill yet, and I loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful place. Sam's mother and sister are like the sweetest freaking people ever. Loved that. Loved the scene with Sam's sister offering Gilly a dress, and she's like, what's your color? You can borrow one of my dresses. And Gilly's like, I don't know, all I wear is this all the time. So I found that so adorable. I love Gilly, and I love watching her learn things that she had no clue about, like how to eat with a fork and knife. That was adorable. I love Gilly. And of course, Sam's dad is like huge meanie pants, and of course has to embarrass him in front of everyone, but I loved that Gilly kind of stood up for him. But then he found out she was a wildling and it went all downhill from there. He said he'd still take care of Sam's child, Sam Jr., but Gilly would work in the kitchens. And then Sam and Gilly had a nice little pep talk where she's like, you're not who he thinks you are, you're so much more than that. And Sam comes back and steals the family's sword. That was so awesome. I was so happy he took the sword. I'm so happy he took Gilly and the baby with him. They're just so meant to be together, and I love the storyline. Okay, moving on to Arya. This episode was just filled with so much foreshadow and I loved it. Arya has like a moment with the actress who plays Cersei in the play, and the Cersei actress mistakes Arya for like a wannabe actress and ends up having this interesting heart-to-heart with her where Arya basically says, well, if you don't like your scene, you should change it. Because I think that the queen loves her son more than anything, and she wouldn't just sit there and cry, she'd be angry, and she'd seek revenge on the person who did it. And what's interesting about this entire scene, and there were so many little details you had to pick up on, we've long awaited the moment where Arya gets to confront Cersei. And it was so weird because she kind of was talking to Cersei in like this weird meta way. Not to mention, there is a moment where Arya's walking in through like the backstage area and sees the fake head of her father that they use in the play. So that's the very first thing you notice. And then she gives the speech about having to seek revenge, and then she ends up saving the woman and warns her that the other actress wants her dead. And then she goes and she gets Needle! Yes! All of it was just so exciting because she finally realized that what she was doing was hiding from who she was. She doesn't want to be no one. She's Arya Stark, and she's gonna go seek revenge on everyone. Everyone, and especially the people who murdered her father. I loved that. I loved seeing the fire back in her. She needs to take everything she learned while being with the Faceless Man and seek vengeance for her father, which is so awesome, and I kind of hope it lines up with Sansa and Jon's plan to rally the North. But now Arya has to fear for her life because, you know, she can't stay alive apparently if you don't follow through with the Faceless Man. So Arya's gonna have to watch her back the entire way, but I'm really excited to see where her storyline goes, and hopefully we see her make her way back to Westeros. This is gonna be awesome. Another interesting scene was with Walder Frey. He thinks that everyone's laughing at him. He wants to take River Run. You know, his men are basically like, dude, you're old, you really want to do this and try to, you know, go up against everyone else. Walder Frey never cared about anything except for himself. And then we find out that he's kept Edmure Tully this whole time, which I always knew. Years ago when the Red Wedding happened, I was like, well, whatever happened to Edmure Tully? What happened to him? Did they kill him too? You never exactly saw where he went, but I always knew he was alive somewhere, and they've just been keeping him around. So Walder Frey is obviously gonna use him to get to River Run and, I don't know, hold him hostage. Who knows? Who knows what he's gonna do, because he's a madman. But I loved that. I loved that this episode brought in so many things from previous episodes. It almost kind of tied a lot of loose strings, but also gave a lot of foreshadowing, and I don't know, it kind of brought a lot of theories to life that we've all been thinking for years and years, and so that was really interesting to see. Alright, and then the final scene in the episode, and also my least favorite scene, was with Dany. Of course, you know, she finds Drogon, she flies down on him and rallies her troops. How many times does she need to ask how many ships she needs to get to Westeros? How many times does someone need to tell her she doesn't have enough money to build the ships to go to Westeros? And how many times does she actually need to rally the people that are following her currently? I just kind of found it unnecessary, but it was really nice to see Drogon back. Any scene with Drogon is always really exciting, or with the dragons in general. So I liked parts of that scene, but I mean, she literally just walked out of a blazing inferno building and everyone bowed to her. Does she really need to rally them any more than that? I mean, it did just kind of feel like another Dany's gonna rally everyone again moment. But that scene did have a lot of symbolism, especially because it was the very last scene of the episode. It almost rallies the fans to be excited for what's to come, but also I think it foreshadows the fact that everyone's done talking now, and hopefully we start seeing more doing and less talking about it. They've already put all the pieces in place, they just need to execute their plans. I've said this many times, and I know the showrunners and all the creators have said it's not gonna happen. I'm still thinking that they're gonna bring Lady Stoneheart in this season. I think they're gonna try to do a big shocker. They're kind of setting things in motion to where if she were to come back, it might make a little bit of sense. Obviously introducing her in season 3 or 4 would have been ideal, but I do think people have kind of forgotten about it and book readers have let it go a little bit, but I'm still thinking that they're gonna try to do it. I think they're gonna bring in Lady Stoneheart. Like, I think it might even be a season finale thing where, you know, we just get a reveal and everyone goes, oh my gosh, and then that's the end of the season. I do think they're gonna bring her in. So I'm still holding out hope for that, but I do think that they're gonna try to shock everyone because they've been telling us for years it's not happening. So it seems very much like them to do it. So I hope that they do. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I loved seeing all the foreshadowing. I love that they're putting all the pieces into place, but next week I just want to see them start moving. So to me, I think that is super exciting. I'm so curious to hear what you guys thought of the episode. If I left anything out, please let me know in the comments, or if you just want to discuss anything involving the episode. It was just such a fascinating episode and I absolutely loved it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe.